The media is mistaken. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. You are well aware of the media frenzy that has been whipped up around the photograph that the Princess of Wales released to celebrate Mother's Day. The photograph was edited. It's evident by looking at it that it can be seen that it was edited. It's been confirmed that it wasn't artificial intelligence that had done this, and indeed the Princess of Wales promptly apologised for putting out an image that had been edited. Notwithstanding the fact that this is a lady who has undergone surgery, who is currently convalescing, she, as an empathic individual, has felt that it has been necessary to explain herself to an extent to confirm that she remains alive, that she is recovering, and that many of the ridiculous conspiracy theories that have been bouncing around on the internet are a load of nonsense. As an empathic person, the Princess of Wales has a truth-seeker trait. This causes her to want to get to the truth of matters, but also to ensure that the truth of her is also known. This is something that will have caused her difficulties on repeated occasions within the royal family. She will have wanted people to understand the truth of certain situations, but has learned that it is better not to engage in the provision of that additional information. She has also learned that when it comes to this one's wife, the most effective course of action is never to explain yourself, not to her, but instead to have nothing more to do with her. You'll recall that when Catherine attempted to resolve matters between the two of them, to get to the truth of the issue, that was thrown in her face with a slammed door, causing her to be upset and flowers thrown in the bin. Thereafter, the truth of what occurred was twisted by this one's wife, as she sought, as usual, to portray herself as the victim and suggest that Catherine was the aggressor. Given the fact that she has been away from public view for some time, and the increasing speculation that has occurred on the internet, the Princess of Wales felt it appropriate, no doubt, as a consequence of that straining truth-seeker trait, to have a photograph emerge of her in the car with her mother, and furthermore, as a consequence of ongoing speculation, felt that it was appropriate to release a family photograph to demonstrate that she was recovering and showing that all was well in the Wales household. Her recovery is her own business, but it is a trait of the empathic individual to feel that they have to explain themselves. This is commonly the case when an individual is ensnared with a narcissist, that the empathic victim feels an obligation to explain why they did as they did, often to try and placate or defuse the situation with the narcissist. All that does is invariably provide fuel to the narcissist, and your truth is not that of the narcissist, and therefore it further inflames the situation. That compulsion to explain yourself is regularly found with empathic individuals and will be exploited by narcissists, but also that compulsion to explain oneself bleeds into everyday life, and we have seen that in relation to the Princess of Wales, who released a simple photograph, and as I explained yesterday, the editing isn't anything sinister, it simply relates to the fact that it's a composite image, and many pictures are edited. Nevertheless, the press have seized upon it as an opportunity to press the princess further, resulting in the issuing of an apology. The issue of the edited photo has dominated the press's front pages over the course of today and yesterday. They've talked about it, reported on it in depth, failing to acknowledge the privacy that the Princess of Wales ought to have with regard to whatever medical condition she has experienced, and making quite simply a mountain out of a molehill. Naturally, the press is interested in getting the views, getting the clicks, and therefore it behaves in a salacious manner in relation to this latest act by the Princess of Wales. We know that this one's wife will be revelling in the misfortune that the Princess of Wales is experiencing, and is likely to be trying to whip up further criticism of her through social media, and by demonstrating that she wouldn't fall for anything like that, as I've reported on in immediate parts passim, although we all know that many pictures that are utilised by the Sussexes of dubious provenance. Nevertheless, the hypocrisy of this one's wife is no surprise. It may appear at the current time that Catherine's facing a situation of feeling rather under siege, but the media are mistaken. For no matter how they seek to portray this incident surrounding the photograph, for instance, the Telegraph leads with the title, "How Princess of Wales's Photo Added Fuel to Conspiracy Theorists' Fire." Picture was supposed to put to bed rumours about surgery and health in the royal family, but it set in chain a wild 36 hours for the firm. Victoria Ward writes, "The last time the village of Datchet was in the news was when it suffered from terrible floods in the winter of 2014. Since then, it has returned to the quiet anonymity that its residents have always valued. Their peace may be about to be shattered, though, after the Berkshire village became the unlikely backdrop to the latest twist in the drama surrounding the Princess of Wales. The Princess, who has not made any public appearances since undergoing surgery on January the 17th, broke cover on Monday and was photographed next to the Prince of Wales in the back seat of a car as it drove down Datchet High Street. Her presence by her husband's side was such a surprise that even two freelance photographers who captured the image had to look twice at their pictures. Kensington Palace aides were also caught off guard on a day of turmoil for the Waleses. Just over 2 hours earlier, the Princess had issued an unprecedented public apology, admitting blame after a family photograph. But notice that she is able to admit blame. She doesn't engage in the repeated blame shifting that we see from this one's wife. Admitting blame after a family photograph was digitally altered to such an extent that it had been withdrawn for failing to meet industry standards. Nevertheless, it might fail to meet industry standards, which are rather high, by the way. Simply, you might be able to sharpen an image or add a little bit of a tint, but for the purposes of those photo outlets, those press outlets, you can't do anything more. For instance, if your subject has red eye, you can't alter it. And therefore, it's unsurprising that the basic editing errors fell foul of the journalistic standards, which is quite ironic, really, isn't it? That you consider that these outlets ensure that there are high standards with regard to the images that are used, but not so much when it comes to the written word. Nevertheless, the Telegraph continues by explaining that after weeks of wild conspiracy theories about the princess's health and her whereabouts since her withdrawal from the public eye, the picture of her with her 3 children released for Mother's Day had been designed to put the rumours to rest once and for all. Instead, it did the opposite. So much digital tinkering has been done to the picture that it prompted further questions about whether any element of the photograph was genuine, including the princess's appearance. Well, those questions are actually coming from the press, because rather than them talk about it being chaotic and that it's causing the opposite, it's actually the press that's asking the questions, because they basically have got their mardy arses in a tiz about the fact that they've not been able to get any photographs of the Princess of Wales since she's been out of public view, and then when she chooses to release a photograph, they're in high dudgeon because the photograph was released by the Waleses and not by the press. Ordinarily, they wouldn't have such a stink about the fact that an image has some editing errors, when we all know it's not there to convey anything sinister. The Telegraph continues by explaining that it was perhaps serendipitous that two experienced photographers had decided to base themselves on Datchet High Street, just a stone's throw from the Prince and Princess's family home on the Windsor estate on Monday. Knowing that Prince William was due at the Commonwealth Day service at Westminster Abbey that afternoon, they thought they would snap him as he made his way into central London. It was about 1:50 p.m. when we saw the convoy coming towards us, and we just managed to get a quick picture. One of the photographers told the Telegraph, "We had no idea that Kate was even in the car with him until we looked at it. It was pure luck." Curiously, the Princess was heading to London for a private appointment, but had apparently decided to travel with her husband, leaving her own vehicle to follow behind. She gazed out of the window of the blue Range Rover as the Prince appeared to read some notes on his phone. At some point they went their separate ways, as the Prince later arrived at the Abbey alone, as had always been planned. Now it's the media that is whipping this into a frenzy, along with, of course, some sugars on social media, trying to make it as if there is something completely untoward about all of this, and ignoring the fact that Kate, through her relevant press office, made it very clear in January that she was having an operation, that she would be convalescing, that she wouldn't be seen in public until Easter. That is all that needed to be told. And instead, it prompted morons on social media to come up with their ridiculous conspiracy theories. And the press has then weighed in because of a dubious photograph. They haven't done the same when it comes to the many dubious photographs that have been released by the Sussexes. It's as if they want to try and teach a lesson to the Prince and Princess of Wales with regard to allowing access, and also to put further pressure upon her to explain what it is that has ailed her. She should not bow to such pressure. It is a private matter. But what the media have done is they've made a fundamental mistake, because what they have done is, in effect, bully the Princess of Wales, with the result that most readers have formed a poor view of the press and are not joining the witch hunt to say, tell us, Kate, what it is that was wrong with you. Instead, the response of the general public has been to criticise the media and to side with the Princess of Wales. In fact, in a step which will clearly have this one's wife seething, the support that's shown for the Princess of Wales as a consequence of the conduct of press is climbing, that people feel sorry for her, that they recognise that this is a private matter, that they respect her choice, and they are condemning the press for its actions. This one's wife will hate that fact that once again the public are rallying to the Princess of Wales, demonstrating how popular she is. Just to demonstrate to you how mistaken the press are with regard to these steps that they've taken, how the media has misjudged the public mood. The fact is, just the comments, of which there are thousands, tell you. Peter Swales, non-story, only of interest to journalists. Brian Earle, when will the media stop milking this non-story? It's not a crisis, a storm in a teacup. Jane Coleman, they've put together a composite of different pictures. That's simple as that. Digby Harper, are the media determined to drive our beloved princess mad, just as they did her husband's mother? For God's sake, lay off. Give her some space and respect her right to privacy, just as much as any other member of the public. Anita Mack, leave the woman alone. Have people got nothing better to do? Ian Baldry, conspiracy theories. That just about sums it up. The rest of us really don't care. We really don't. Frida McKittrick, what on earth? All this over a photo. We have protests. Hoyle and Starmer being swept under the carpet. Rayner's council house. Dinghies coming in. Building Muslim memorials. Paying for protection for Muslims and Jews. What does this country come to? And front page news about a photo? Annie Burns. It would seem that the Daily Telegraph is intent on covering this non-story in order to divert our attention away from something much more important and newsworthy. Somebody else comments like war and immigration, a coming financial crash, for example. Elsie Carter, why is this news? I really don't understand. James McCorkingdale, what a load of nonsense, a complete non-story. Mark Richards, 6 hours later and this is still the main headline story. Give it a rest already. So many more important things in the world to be reporting on other than Kate's flipping Photoshop skills. You won't get her detailed medical records, so give up. Anthony Plowright, she changed a photo. I have as well, so effing what? Ian Elliott, what is this rubbish? Enough now. Alan Kerr, she just left the hospital and needed to send out a photo to the public, which was probably the last thing she wanted to do. If she doesn't look perfect, she gets roasted online. Leave her alone. David Littlewood, could you please stop this nonsensical rubbish, which is just being fed by the weak-minded? Long Hard Road, can't believe it took 2 so-called journalists to write this tripe. Ridiculous. Alexander Lovett, this is exactly the sort of journalism that led to the death of Diana. Editors need to control their journalists. Neville Wrench, HRH has done nothing wrong. The media, however, has scored an own goal. Simply never trust a photo again, whatever the content. Exactly, responds Graham Brown. It was a lovely informal photo on the Instagram for Mother's Day, not an official photo. If the press suspected something, all they had to do was call Kensington Palace and check instead of causing chaos. Their mistake, and the KP staff, not Catherine's. It's made the press look like fools. Many comments, all criticising the media for their reaction to all of this, demonstrating a knee-jerk response and the haranguing of an individual where it's completely unnecessary. People understanding that it's likely that as a consequence of having the difficulty of 3 children in a photograph, as I've explained previously, repeatedly people state that the princess has done nothing wrong, and, unfortunately, it's the media. But the media have made a mistake. They've misgauged the public mood about this. And whilst they continue to harangue the princess, making a big deal out of all of this, the public aren't having any of it, and they're supporting her. Thus, whilst it may feel uncomfortable for the Princess of Wales at the current time, she can see from the various comments below the line, if she's moved to read them, that the public mostly support her. Yes, there are 1 or 2 dissenting voices from idiotic conspiracy theorists, but for the most part, the media have got this one wrong. Rather than thinking that people will say, yes, Kate, you've deceived us, where are you? Make a statement, prove that you're alive. People accept that she's convalescing. They accept that it is just a slight editing error of a photograph, and instead they regard the media as making too much of an issue out of this. There's no doubt that this one's wife will also be looking to whip up a frenzy in relation to this, and of course, once again, should she have any involvement in all of this, it's backfired, for the sympathy and support lies with Catherine. And, of course, many people have utilised this as an opportunity to point out that there are numerous instances of discrepancies with photographs from the Sussexes, yet they have not been hauled over the coals by the press. The media have made a mistake, and they've got this one wrong, and the support for Catherine remains solid. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.